All right. Hello and welcome to Critical Conversations. This is your invitation to put on your do not disturb, to join me for the next half hour, maybe less. I don't know, maybe more. I'd like to try and keep these right around that 30-minute mark. But every now and again, I get going and it's hard to stop. But today's conversation is going to poke some feathers. It's going to even probably poke some of mine. You never know what's going to come out of my mouth. But I want to first off say thanks for being here. This has been one of the most fulfilling tasks in my coaching business. And I just love it. And I'm having so much fun doing it and being here with you. And just want to say thanks. Every time you guys like this, you share it, you subscribe it, you share it on your social medias, you email it to your friend. It means the world to me. So thank you so much for supporting me on this journey. I hope that it's supportive for you, and let's keep growing this community. I think we're better when we're together, and we're going to keep growing. All right, let's talk drugs, sex, alcohol. Are you guys ready? Okay. It's always so funny. I like it wanting to wear these blue light glasses, but then I can see my reflection. I don't know. It drives me crazy. So I'm going to look off to the side a little bit here if you're on video. If you're not, sorry, that was an odd tangent. But we're talking drugs, we're talking sex, we're talking alcohol, but we're talking in the framework of, do you know yourself without those things? So do you know your body, your mental and emotional well-being, not on drugs, alcohol, or with sex? Are you innately aware of your gut? And I want to talk about this because the whole theme of 2025 is balls to the motherfucking walls. 2025, I claimed, is my year. It is not even 2025 when I'm recording this, and I've already claimed it. It's my year, which means it's your year because you're in my orbit. You're getting and receiving all of the good vibes that I am working so hard to cultivate in 2025. And what do I mean by that? I mean, balls to the walls as in I'm checking in with my gut. I know myself. I know where I'm headed. I don't know all the steps on the path, but I'm so clear and I'm so grounded. And the commitment I have is unwavering. So I want to talk about drugs, sex, and alcohol because it's always a hot topic with clients. It's always something that I'm looking at for myself and my own well-being. It's definitely a hot topic in my house. And it's really a hot topic anywhere you go, right? How many of you are honest when you go to the doctor? I will be honest with you guys. I am not honest when I go to the doctor. So how many of us go to our wellness checks and, you get those fucking questionnaires and it's how many drinks of alcohol do you have a week? 0 to 2, 2 to 4, 6 to 8, and it's just I don't know, Karen. It depends upon the fucking week, right? I don't know, Karen. Am I in Cabo this week with my girlfriends or am I in New York City doing a budget meeting? I don't know, Karen. So how honest are you with where you're at with those things? And then it's recreational drugs, which you can argue marijuana right or left. But the reality is that you're altering your state of being with marijuana. You're altering your state of being with booze. You're altering your state of being with any prescription drug. So Xanax, allergy medicine, Advil, you are band-aiding your body when you are taking medicine, period. I don't care what the drug is, whether it's prescribed to you or not. You are altering your state of being through prescription medicine. So I want to talk about it because I have gone on this rabbit hole. And I think this has happened since I went to my Vipassana retreat meditation. So my Vipassana was where I, for those of you who don't know, 2 years ago, I did a 10-day silent retreat. It's a Vipassana retreat. And you go 10 days without anything really. I don't want to give away all the details because I don't want to freak people out, but you don't get dinner. Okay. So you wake up at 5 a.m., you meditate for an hour, hour and a half, then you get breakfast, then you meditate some more, then you get a break, then you get lunch, then you meditate some more, and you don't get dinner. So you really don't get a whole lot. So there's no booze. You're not really supposed to take any prescription drugs. You're not supposed to have your cell phone. You're not supposed to have a journal. You're not supposed to, like, nothing. So like I went in there, me, myself, and I did bring a yoga mat, even though you're not supposed to exercise. I was like, listen, I have to move my body a little bit. And they were like, meh. So I did bring a yoga mat and my like foam roller for my back. And I brought my clothing, my toiletries, toothbrush, hairbrush, shampoo, that kind of stuff. I didn't bring a straightener or blow dryer, none of that stuff. I didn't bring any makeup because it was during COVID times and they were still masking. So I was like, why the fuck am I going to bother putting makeup on? And you're not supposed to make eye contact with anyone either, right? So like your eyes are always looking down. So you don't make eye contact. So like, why do I care if I have makeup on? And so, there's no booze. There's no nothing, right? So there I am, 10 days, silent retreat, nothing. And it was the most interesting thing because at this point in my life, I wasn't drinking wine. I'm not a beer drinker because I'm gluten-free. And wine messed with my stomach. And so like if I drank, I was drinking like vodka mostly. And I would have mixed drinks. And yeah, I probably at that period was drinking every night, right? And maybe sometimes more than I should. But my relationship to alcohol, I always was super clear on why I was drinking. And if you've met me and you know me and you've been in my orbit, you know that I am pretty like easygoing for the most part, but I love to drink. I do. I love to drink. And I've had my records read to me, my I always say it wrong, but it's Akashic records. And multiple people, I've had like, hypnosis sessions. I've had my records read. I've had like a timeline reading. Like I've had all these different like woo-woo things done to me. And 3 different people have said to me, you came here to have fun. You came here to live it up, to try a little bit of everything and to indulge and have fun. And so they have always like mirrored back to me that like, no, you came here to party your ass off. And the reality is I don't smoke weed. I've really only done mushrooms. I've never done any hardcore drugs like cocaine or anything like that ever. Not once in my whole fucking life. I didn't have weed until I was so drunk on my wedding day that I was like, yeah, let's smoke weed. That's the first time I smoked weed. So that's how drunk I was on my wedding day, which was the best day ever. But like, I've never been like a drug person. I had Ruby at home, no drugs. The few times that I've had to be in the hospital, I don't usually take the narcotics. When I got my surgery last November, I didn't take any of the narcotics. I'm not a drug person. They affect me really hardcore, so really like I take allergy medicine and Advil, right? But what I'm sharing all of this because I'm getting to a point, you guys. Okay. I'm getting somewhere, I promise. But what I want you to understand is I went to this retreat, not really having anything to detox, right? Because I wasn't like addicted to anything. But what happened to me while I was there was so interesting because it made me realize the way that we use these things simply disconnect us from who we are. That's it. That's all it is. So when we drink, when we smoke weed, when we eat weed gummies, when we have CBD, when like whatever your fucking choice is here, when you take your Xanax, when you take your melatonin sleeping pills, all you're doing is you're saying where I'm at is not where I want to be. And this is going to be the thing that fills the gap. So it's like, if you think of like, you're on one side of a bridge, it's the thing that takes you to the other side, right? And so what happened after this Vipassana experience is I just started to ask myself, why am I drinking? Because that's my drug of choice. That's my thing. I love booze. I have fun with it. You know, have I made mistakes and gone too far? Fuck yeah. Have I said things I shouldn't have? Yes. Have I started arguments with my husband? Of course you have. If you haven't, I'm sorry. You're just missing out on some good conversations. But like the reality is like, yeah, that's my drug of choice. And so what happened after this Vipassana is I started to really consider why I was drinking. What was my reason? Was I running from something? Was I avoiding something? Was I trying to mask something? Is it just an unconscious habit? I really just started to get curious about what made me be like, oh, it's time to have a cocktail, or, you know, whatever it is. Like, and so that curiosity over the last couple of years, let's see, I think, when did I go? It may have even been 3 years ago now. But that curiosity led me down this rabbit hole of really learning to get in touch with my body. Because here's the thing, I don't give a fuck what drug of choice you choose. What I care about is, why are you doing it? What are you running from? What are you avoiding? What are you masking? What's the bridge you're trying to get to? Like, why are you trying to create this bridge? What are you escaping? And so the more curious I got about this, the more I started having these conversations with my friends and my family and Nigel, of course. And we just started to kind of ask, like, well, why are we drinking right now? And the reality is, we live in America, and, you know, I think we're a drinking forward society, right? Like, oh, let's go to happy hour. Oh, let's go to the bar. You know, it's kind of like our world revolves around connecting at bars and restaurants, right? And so you're getting together to have a drink. You're getting together, right? And so I think a lot of it is unconscious. It's like, that's just what we do, kind of a thing. And so I started to play with, well, can I not drink when I go meet with so-and-so? Can I not drink for a week? Can I not drink for a month? Can I not drink for, you know, I think a month is as far as I've gone. But like, I just started to get curious. Can I not drink on Mondays? Can I like, and also playing with like, why am I doing that? Why am I quote unquote withholding, right? Like, I don't technically consider it withholding, but it is withholding, right? Because in my personal experience with alcohol, I'm not an alcoholic. I don't wake up and have the shakes. I'm not taking shots in the middle of the day. In fact, the only time I've taken shots was over a year ago at a Christmas party where all the truck drivers were like, let's take shots, Karissa. And I was like, fuck yeah, you guys, we had an amazing year. Let's take shots. It was in fact a terrible idea. But like, I don't, you know, I'm not really like, I'm not taking shots. I'm not drinking to get drunk because I'm not running from anything. I'm drinking because I fucking love the flavor. So what I've noticed is that I really value the texture, right? Which is why I think I love champagne, and the flavor components, which is also why I love champagne. But I'm drinking because it's like an experience, and it's like heightening my experience of life. But I also started to notice, like, when are you drinking to just ignore life, or when you just are running from something, or you need like a shot for bravery, right? Like, I'm not gonna lie, when Erica, my best friend, and I go horseback riding sometimes somewhere dangerous, we're like, let's take a shot to like bring, like, to calm our fucking nerves, to like bring us down a notch so that we're regulated when we're like on this giant cliff with the horses. Like, let's take the edge off. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Again, I'm not talking about people who are addicted. I'm not talking about people who are true alcoholics, who are like waking up, you need it to get through your day. I am talking about, I can take it or leave it. It exists. But like, for me, I feel like I have a good relationship because I got to know who I was. And that's what happened at that Vipassana, is I got to know who I was. I got to understand how my body worked, my digestive system worked. I got to know about how my thoughts were working. Like, I really intimately deep dove, who is Karissa and what works for me. And then I got out of Vipassana, and over the last few years have been discovering even deeper, like, what feels good in my body. I haven't eaten eggs. I had eggs once because Nigel made them for me, and once because we were in a hurry, and so the only thing at Starbucks I can get that's gluten-free is egg bites, which I don't even know if they're technically gluten-free, but I just pretend they are and eat them. But I haven't been eating eggs because I don't like the way I feel on eggs. I've noticed when I eat eggs, I don't feel awesome. So I've just said I'm not going to eat eggs. And so that's what I'm talking about, is how well do you know yourself? Do you know yourself enough to know why you're doing what you're doing, what feels good in your body, what works in your system, and what doesn't? And that is when the drugs, the alcohol, and the sex start to become a problem. That rock and roll lifestyle becomes a problem because you can go too far and you're disconnected from who you are, and you're disconnected from what actually feels good in your body. And so this is what this conversation is really about, is do you know yourself off of all the things? Do you know yourself as a human who doesn't need a bridge to a different side? And have you faced the things you're running from? I think 5 years ago, 10 years ago, hella running. Was definitely drinking way too much, and was drinking way too much because I was running. I was avoiding. I didn't like certain things. And so you have a drink to move on from it, right? So why? Why are you doing it? You know, these are the conversations you need to have, because the reality is you don't get to start feeling better until you confront some of those truths. So what's your why? Before you pop that pill, before you smoke the blunt, before even cigarettes, you guys, like before you smoke the cigarette, before you have the drink, why? Because I want to? Great. Amazing. Have it. Because it makes me feel good? Okay, great. Amazing. Have it. But is there a point where it doesn't make you feel good? That's where you got to start reevaluating. If you're doing it because you always feel shitty and it's the only thing that makes you feel good, probably time to reevaluate. So these are the things you have to start getting curious about in your personal life. And the more we know ourselves, the more we listen to our bodies, right? If you take my egg example, I feel so good because I'm not eating eggs. And I love that for me. I feel so much better not eating eggs. And so if you can just pause enough to start to identify some of those key things in your life, you might actually feel better. Now, here's the flip of that. You might feel worse because you are hiding from something, because you are masking something, because something isn't right and you need to draw your attention to changing that thing, right? Like, let's say you're depressed. Let's say you're anxious. Let's say you are avoiding a really difficult conversation or a boundary that needs to get set. Maybe you're doing it because that's how you can get through it. So what are you running from or avoiding that you're masking with this thing to quote unquote get through it? Can you face whatever it is, however it's showing up, and say, I don't want to just quote unquote get through this. I want to change it and have a different experience altogether. Like, this is the piece. These are the curiosities I want you to start considering, because this is when your life actually gets to feel better. Sorry, Franklin's barking. And I left my door open to my office because I was home alone. But I might not now be home alone. But my curiosity for you here, and this is the curiosity I had to get for myself, is why? Why? Before you unconsciously go to do the thing, why are you doing the thing? And how can you change it so that the experience is different? And so for me, I did go on this deep dive of booze. Why am I drinking? And I did go on this deep dive of, what other things am I ignoring about my body, about my mental and emotional well-being? Where am I avoiding? Where am I masking? Where am I hiding? Where am I running from? And the more we can gain curiosity around that, that truly is when it changes for us. And so can you just start asking questions? I'm not saying you have to change anything. And listen, if you truly have an addiction and an issue, you should ask for help. You should get help. There's lots of help out there. And if I can be a resource to you and point you in the right direction, I'm here for that. I have lots of resources here in Oregon. I've had friends who've gone to rehab multiple times. Nigel's had his own battles with his addictions. It's definitely not a topic I'm afraid of talking about. Am I perfect? Could I drink less? Yeah, of course. But hello again, I came here to have fun. So it's just about why are you doing it? Right. And, I have to say for me, it's the more I know myself, the more I trust myself, the more I let myself, I let go of the judgment, right? Because some people judge me and they're like, oh, she's a life coach. How could she drink? And it's just well, I don't know. Why not? I came here to enjoy life. And I'm enjoying life. And I'm sorry that doesn't that's not everyone's path. And so I think that's the other piece of it too. Are you doing it for other people or are you doing it for yourself? And I think that's been my journey, is discovering why for me, really getting to know my body, really getting to trust myself. And then it's the deeper I go into knowing who I am, trusting myself, leading myself, guiding myself, all these things about me, right? This is where the selfish part comes in. But the deeper I did go into that, the more clarity I got and the better I felt. And the more I felt really confident in who I was, because I got clear on what works for me. And so this is really sorry, Franklin, it might be the mailman, which he absolutely hates the mailman. Or somebody is knocking on my door. I don't know. I apologize. Franklin! Hey, buddy, that's enough. Come here. But the reality is it gets better when you turn in. It gets better when you start to trust yourself. And the more you practice that and you receive, that positive reinforcement from trusting yourself, you're reinforcing a behavior that feels good. And that's where that confidence piece comes from, is because I listened to my gut. I did the thing that felt right for me, and it worked out. That's that positive reinforcement. And so I'm going to trust myself again. And so that cycle repeats itself, and that's what builds confidence. When you know that you can't drink, don't drink. Reinforce that. Feel good about that decision. Build your confidence with, I don't drink. Right? I have lots of sober clients, and I have lots of sober people in my life. They don't drink because they don't make good choices. They can't trust themselves. And I always have the conversation when I'm in those people's orbit. Do you want me to not drink? I'm happy to withhold if that helps you make a better decision. Because guess what? I can drink on another time when I'm by myself and I'm not around you. There are definitely courtesies to consider here. And listen, this is going to trigger some people, a lot of unfollows, unlikes, whatever. I don't really care. You guys are all entitled to your opinions about how you want to live your life. I'm just going to tell you from my experience, this is what I've done. I've gotten curious about my why. I reinforce it with the choice that feels really good. I've built my confidence. I have that muscle. It doesn't mean that it's right for everyone. It doesn't mean that you're an asshole. And that, I'm not trying to sit here and be well, you should figure out your shit and then you should be able to do whatever you want. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, do you know your path? Do you trust yourself? Do you know what works for you? Because eggs might be the only thing that tastes good to you right now. And you're like, fuck that, Karissa. I love eggs. I love that you love eggs, and I love that eggs are good for you. Your body, your choice. Your body, your life, you reinforce what works for you. What I'm talking about is, are you avoiding something and feeling like shit? And if you are, can you get curious about that? So the conversation isn't really about do or don't. It's about why. And do you know your why? And is your why reinforcing something that you like or something that you don't like? That's it. That's the conversation. and your path is yours. It's different. It's what works for you. I have a really good friend who used to drink a lot all the time. And she was like, I'm going to go sober. And I was like, why? And she was like, my body doesn't feel good. And I just want to see what happens when I don't drink. Guess what, guys? She's been sober for over a month because she realized she feels 10 times better not drinking. And now she's like, it's not worth it. Do you know your body? Do you know if you feel better drinking or not drinking? Like that, this is the curiosity. These are the questions. Like, do you know yourself? I mean, it's just a question. And you get to discover the answer. And the question really is, do you want to feel better? If you do, then get to know yourself. Get to know your body. Get to know how your body feels with what you're eating, with what you're watching. Like, go through the 5 senses, right? Sight, smell, taste, touch, hear? Yeah, hearing. Eyes, ears, nose, mouth. Yeah, I think I got them. But go through your 5 senses and get curious about, like, am I in those areas of my life with what I'm seeing? Do I like it? How does it make me feel? Smelling, do I like it? How does that make me feel? Like, if I walk into, a barn and I don't like horses and I smell horses, I'm not going to enjoy that experience, right? So I'm probably not going to do that because it doesn't make me feel good. So I'm not going to be a horse person, right? Which is not the reality. I'm just giving you an example, right? If I walk into a strip club and it doesn't make me feel good because I'm watching this thing that is like not making me feel good, guess what? You're probably never going to go into a strip club again. So why the fuck are you drinking booze if it makes you feel like shit? Why are you smoking weed if it makes you feel like shit? Why are you masking your anxiety instead of getting curious about what am I anxious for? Like, this is what I'm talking about. Can you go a layer deeper? Can you just understand that if you turn towards it, you can change it and it can get better for you? All right. I think that's it. I mean, real, raw, unconventional. I don't even know what I just said. But yeah, addictions are I mean, addictions are just guideposts, just like emotions. That it's like, do you want to know why or do you want to ignore it? Do you want to know why you're sad or do you want to ignore it? Do you want it to go away and get better or at least understand it? Or do you want to just avoid it? I mean, this is the work. This is the work. Yeah, I think that's it. It's an interesting one. We'll see how you guys like it. I don't know. It's not coming out for a while, so it should be a cool experience. Anyways, thanks for showing up for this critical conversation. I'm going to keep them coming. My commitment to you is to drop all the truth. So here we fucking go.